Hello, everyone. My name is Brandy Gotzel. I'm co-founder of SAORI Arts NYC. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're very excited for everyone to be here. So SAORI Arts NYC is a nonprofit weaving organization for people with disabilities and chronic illness. And our programming introduces and shares the philosophy of SAORI weaving to people of all ages. And before we get started on our artist talk, I would like to share with you a little bit more about the SAORI philosophy. Some of you may already know and be very familiar with this philosophy. It is a weaving form that originated in Japan in the 1960s by Misai Jo. And Sayori translates literally in Zen vocabulary to Sa, meaning everything has its own dignity, and Ori, meaning weaving. So some of the principles of Sayori are to embrace imperfections and follow your own intuitive path of creating. So this concept that there are no mistakes in Sayori, meaning that quote unquote mistakes can be actually unexpected forms of exploration, experimentation. So this is a free form expression of weaving that doesn't follow a pattern, which really makes it very different than traditional weaving. So that being said, we're just so excited to have an amazing, amazing artist, Nobuko Tsuruta, and she's a Sayori weaver and artist, and I have been a fan of hers for many years. She is a fiber artist based in NYC and born in Japan, and her work encompasses installation, experimental fashion, and performance, and she's also a certified Sayori weaving instructor. And she will be in conversation with Eric Shiner, which we're so blessed to have with us today, curator and executive director of Pioneer Works in Brooklyn, formerly senior vice president of contemporary art of Sotheby's. He was the director of Andy Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh and the Milton Fine curator of art at the Warhol. He lived in Japan for 6 years and has curated many art exhibitions around the globe. So thank you so much for both of you for being here. And I do want to mention that we are going to have a Q&A at the end of this talk, but feel free to enter any questions that you have either in the chat or in the Q&A option, though we are going to wait until the end and there will be opportunities for anyone to ask their questions and to have a dialogue with both of them. Okay, so that being said, I will turn it to you, Eric. So thank you so much.
And thank you so much, Brandy. It is an honor to be here. And I'm so thrilled to be in conversation this evening with the really amazing interdisciplinary artist, Nobuko Tsuruta. And Nobuko-sama, domo yoroshiku onegai itashimasu. I'm really especially excited because I should also let everyone know that I lived in Japan for 6 years and went to graduate school in Japan. I was an exchange student there as an undergraduate, and all of my academic work was focused on Japanese art history. So I started off looking at medieval Japanese screen painting and castle architecture as an undergraduate, and then shifted to post-war Japanese contemporary art in graduate school. So Japan is very near and dear to my heart, as are Japanese artists and the amazing work that they put forth to the world. Textile art certainly has a very long tradition in Japan. We certainly revel in the beauty of Japanese kimono and obi work and so many other textile-based arts, but SAORI certainly brings a very contemporary vibe to the mix, and yet is very based in a lot of traditional thinking in Japan. And I thought that my first question to Nobuko to get the conversation going would be to think about the origins of SAORI and what Jo-sama was thinking. And I know that she was a practitioner of ikebana, Japanese flower arranging,
that's right.
as was I when I lived in Japan. That was my main hobby, doing flower arranging, and I still do it to this day and love it. But I would love to hear how you became interested in SAORI and what the entryway looked like for you.
Saori is, you know well about Saori, like Jo Misao starting Saori. She originally doing Ikebana, but she wondering about Ikebana. She need to cut a lot of, branches. And she felt uncomfortable with that. She gonna do a more natural thing and respect the original shape. And she started Saori like this for the no mistake. You can do anything as you like. No mistake. We accept everything. So that's me. Feel very free and comfortable, and I can try to decide with artist with Saori first because freestyle. Nobody say no to me, so a lot of confidence for me. So Saori helps me a lot to be an artist. I appreciate.
It's really such a wonderful concept that anyone can do it.
Yes.
There are no rules. You can experiment and innovate as you're working in front of the loom. And I love that you've taken it into totally different areas, because not only do you incorporate performance into your sculptures, but you also really, in many ways, do installations with nature, almost taking it back to the origins of Ikebana and marrying it together with nature again.
Yeah.
But that's really thrilling, that really anything goes, that you can really try anything. But I'd love to hear from you how you first experienced Saori and what led you to take this on as your main form of creation.
Because my son started weaving at he was 5 years old at SAORI studio. I didn't do that. I just take him to the studio and he liked it. So he took the class 2 or 3 times there. And then the owner asked me to assistant as a studio. That's why I started. I didn't know Saori before. So my son bring me the chance to do it. I really appreciate my son too. So funny, so interesting.
That's wonderful that your son opened that door to you.
Opened door to me.
And, of course, Nobuko is from Japan originally and studied at Ikkyo University in Tokyo. What did you study in university?
Economics.
Ah, so
totally
very different from art.
Yes, totally different.
And when did you first come to New York?
21 years ago.
Incredible. And I'm very glad that your son took weaving classes and introduced you, because your work is just so absolutely beautiful. Your use of color, which I want to talk about, is absolutely phenomenal, and how you blend different colors together. How do you go about when you go to buy your materials? How do you think about what colors you want to use?
No, I don't think anything. I just pick up one material at the beginning and I just started. It's so, maybe you feel something crazy things, but we talk to each other, material and me, and negotiate what do you want and what do you want to play. And I just started. So I don't know what I'm doing during the making tapestry, and I don't know the goal. So that's weird, but it's the fun part to me.
Yeah, I don't think it's weird at all, because so often artists are in constant dialogue with their materials and allowing it to be a natural sort of delivery from your soul, from your brain, the navigation between the brain and the heart, and sometimes just letting go and seeing what happens. And I love that that is the very foundation of Saori, and letting go as you experiment, innovate, and make all at the same time. So I'd love to ask how you first thought about the idea of introducing performers to your work. And you've collaborated with many dancers and live models. And I'd love to ask how you thought about bringing your sculptures to life in that way.
Okay, because I work at fashion industry in Japan long time before I came to New York. That's why I'm really like the fashion and fabric on the people. It depends on the people, the face gonna be changed. I know that. So I guess my work maybe gonna be changed, depend on the performer. I really like collaboration with performing artists because they catch my work sense so quickly and they try to express through their body. And all the time I can see different aspect of my work. So that's so interesting for me, so exciting. That's why I want to collaborate with performing artists. Also, in the future, I want to make some performance with my project.
I think that's a really good idea. And, you know, so oftentimes the fashion world and the art world are thought of as very different worlds. And yet there's so much overlap because artists are constantly looking to the fashion world for inspiration, just as fashion designers are also looking to the art world for inspiration. And I think, you know, obviously from Japan, Rei Kawakubo and Comme des Garçons are certainly,
Yamamoto.
and Yoji Yamamoto and Issei Miyake are really thinking about the body as a site for wearable sculpture, because each one of them contorts the human form, whether it's with bumps or pleats or different symmetries and lines than many Western designers who tend to adhere more to the contours of the body. But they have all really almost made the wearer of their work performers, if you will, a part of their performance. It's almost like wearable sculpture.
Yes, exactly. And we love art, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, you know, I've read a few interviews that you've done and a few articles about you and your work. And I love that when you sit in front of the loom and you're making, you just start to explore your inner self and your mind at that point, and you navigate your ego and your psyche as you make.
It's
so do you view it as a meditation?
Meditation, exactly. You're right. This is my meditation, Eric. So Eric, can I introduce my art pieces right now?
I think it's perfect timing.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Timing. Okay, let's share the screen.
Perfect.
So let's start.
So we wanted to make sure that all of the viewers this evening were able to see many examples of your artwork. And earlier, as I hinted, you often make the connection literally to nature because your work takes a very organic form oftentimes. And here you actually do an installation in a tree. So tell us where this was and how you came up with this.
Yeah, can I tell? This is the work I decided to be an artist. It's 10 years ago, I think almost 10 years ago, just right after the big earthquake in Japan, tsunami earthquake we had, right? And at that time, everybody's so depressed, especially Japanese people like me. And one day I found a small piece of the felt. You see the felt, you know, like a wool, bunch of wool there. And I found the felt at the studio, and it looks like a very powerful and colorful. It's a small pieces, but I felt maybe they speak to me, use me, play with me. And then I started this project at the time. And through this work, I felt the power of the rebirth, all things, even if in the turmoil and the fear of the earthquake. But this art piece cheered me up a lot at the time. And then I decide I'm gonna be an artist. Maybe I can communicate all material. And yeah, that's it.
That's wonderful to think that from so much chaos and trauma,
Yeah, at the time.
by bringing art and beauty into the mix, it's a way to heal.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna go.
Now, where did this happen, that installation?
What, excuse me?
Where did you do this?
At the studio. I work at the studio, Upper East Side, Manhattan. And because I don't have my own studio, I don't have space, small apartment in New York. That's why I go to regular studio and I teach a lot of kids and senior, you know, the adult. I have the class. And then I don't, another time I'm gonna use the time for my making my art piece there.
Fantastic. And what tree did you use?
No, I don't remember what kind of tree, but this is Prospect Park.
How long did you leave it there?
I just hang them and I took the picture.
And then took it down?
Yes, of course.
I was wondering, maybe it's still there for people to go find.
Okay, let's go next one.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we talk about how to make my project, but sometimes I'm gonna refresh my mind like this, kind of experimental things. Maybe in technically experimental, I want to do it. This is interlocking, warping, and weaving both sides interlock two color, white and black. And also when I weave, I use that open top lid. Maybe they have a lot of questions about it, but I think I don't have time to explain the technical things. But when I weave, I gonna move the warping position. So that works so well for making the wave like this. So it's fun, but it's taking a long time.
I bet it takes a very long time.
Yeah.
And I love, the monochrome nature of the work because it really makes one think about Japanese ink painting.
Oh, ink painting, yes.
The idea of just that instant moment of creative output. And yet this takes obviously an incredibly long time. How many hours does a work like this take you?
Well, I don't remember, maybe one piece, 1 week or 2 weeks.
Yeah. So obviously a much longer time than ink painting, but it's so interesting that you can achieve the same effect both with an instantaneous action, but also one that takes a very long time to complete.
Yeah, it's taking a long time. But all the time, it's taking a long time, my piece.
Sure.
Okay, the next. And this is my style. Yeah. This is, the title is Escape, and this is typical my weaving. And this is a sustainable project because I pick up all material from the scrap box, and nobody want to use the material because it's so, the texture is so hard or sometimes too difficult to take care of it. And then I decide I reuse for new pieces because, and I really enjoy giving them another life at that time. And when I weave them, I feel my mind is very free. Also, I can go anywhere with this, like a floating. So this is my favorite piece.
It's absolutely wonderful. And I love that you incorporate other types of materials because so often textile art is linked to natural materials, wools and yarns, but you incorporate different things, plastics, synthetic materials. So it almost becomes a mirror of our real lives, where we're constantly navigating between the organic and the inorganic.
A lot of artists focus to organic things, but the other hand, I think that even if synthetic fiber like this, they have some spirit. So I want to reuse them like organic things and mix them together. I don't think it's a problem. It's okay for me.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. And the work is hanging from a natural
tree
branch.
Yes.
Did you find that branch
No,
somewhere?
my boss.
Oh, you bought it. Okay.
No, my boss gave me.
Ah,
She's
well, I love that it gives the idea of almost like Spanish moss hanging off of a tree.
That's great. Yes, I agree with that.
And
And this is the title Blackbird, and this is the this work taught me a lot of things. And this is an early work, maybe second tapestry for me, but I study a lot because from this installation, I see the how lightning and depth and shadows is important for the fabric art. So this project taught me a lot of things. I appreciate it.
Well, also working in 3 dimensions in that way with fiber is really difficult. And there was actually a question about the last piece, and someone asked if you did the last piece on the loom or if you did it directly off of the stick.
On the loom, I made it. And after that, I'm gonna illustrate with the sticks.
And what about this piece?
This is also, I made it on the loom. It doesn't look like, but each pieces I made on the loom.
And then you connected them after you did each individual piece?
Oh, yes. This is actually 3 pieces. Yeah. I tied together. And I want to show you guys how different on the people and on the wall. It's same blackbird tapestry, but looks like different. I mean, the feeling is so different. That's why I like, she is Takemi Kitamura, great performing artist. So, you know, this is fun part for me.
I can imagine, like bringing the work to life, but also to death in many ways, because this image obviously is the model laying on a beach dune, probably at the beach.
Yes.
And could easily be a dead body washed up against the shore, but also could be a body in, you know, rest and contemplation. Meditating, if you will.
Yes.
But I love that it almost seems like this body washed up on the shore is some mysterious sea creature.
Oh, thank you so much. So that's the fun part. Kind of abstract things the audience can decide by themselves. I like that. I don't want to decide what is this. So this is fun part for the art, I think.
Yeah, and that's the most important role that art can play in society, because we all know there are no correct answers, because it can mean many things to many different people. And of course, the artist who makes it has her original idea, but once it enters the world, then anything is possible. And that's very much tied to the concept of SAORI in general, that anything is possible.
And it's dependent on the audience is okay for me. And can I talk to you about this? This is a Requiem. And just a little bit long story. I decided, I dedicate this work to my friend. She died by cancer. And she was my colleague and liked using delicate thread like this. That's why I pick up the gold thin thread for her tapestry. And when she hospitalized, I began to weave this piece and in hope of her return. But unfortunately, 3 months later, she passed away. And after, also for the next 3 months, I just continued to weep just to accept the reality of life. And I believe this piece has a power to heal the people. Under this pandemic, we lost a lot of people. So I want to dedicate this piece for all of the world. And somebody lost a loved one. And this piece, the best one, I think.
It
And
was so beautiful, and so beautiful of you to make that gesture, because, you know, it's right there in the title, Requiem, like remembering people that are important to us and honoring them. And when I first saw this piece in prepping for the talk, I immediately thought of the very well-known African artist El Anatsui.
Oh,
And I'm sure you know his work, and many people know his work. And he literally weaves together massive mural-sized works using bottle caps and things
oh
that you
yes,
find.
yeah, they're gonna make big piece with that small,
Yeah, and oftentimes he uses gold or metallic material. So I thought of that, but yet at the same time, this is, you know, its own beautiful object that is fully unique and separate from what he does, but its scale really does give you the essence of something really important, or something
Yes,
based in ceremony.
for me,
Based,
this piece is connecting this world to the another world. Always
so almost like
connecting.
a bridge to the other world.
Yes, the bridge, yeah, to the another world.
Well, I think, you know, in America, we have a very different relationship with life and death than in Japan, of course. And here it's sort of, once someone dies, there's the concept of, you know, if you happen to come from a Judeo-Christian background, of going to heaven, but it's sort of, you know, it's very final. And every once in a while you go and visit the gravesite of your relative. But in Japan, it's a much deeper, I think, connection. And obviously, if one practices either Shinto or Buddhist religions, many families have shrines in their homes and do daily prayers, remembering their family members. So it's as though they never really leave.
Yes, you're right.
So there was one question that just came in about the Blackbirds piece. And that question is, did you use black and white because it looks like a seabird? It reminds me of seagull feathers when you see it on the beach.
Blackbird?
Yes.
Oh, this one?
So were you thinking about seagulls?
No. No, I didn't. But blackbirds, I used a lot of feathers. First, I found feathers, and that's my idea. Maybe I can weave with feathers. So you see a lot of feathers on it. I weave together.
Oh. Have you ever, by the way, thought of being a fashion designer, or have you done fashion collection?
No, I didn't. I know I didn't. But can I skip this one, because we don't have time.
We still have about 20 minutes.
Okay, this one is the same tapestry like Requiem, but this is on performer Hazuki Honma. It's gonna be more pop things, like space things. So it's really fun for me.
That's great. And someone just asked if there are any close-ups of the work, but I just want to remind everyone that you can actually zoom in detail, either on your laptop or desktop or on your phone.
Oh, please do it. Okay, and this big tapestry is about my mother, and this is a life work project, I think. When I started with the lead thread, I felt the existence of my mom suddenly. And I flashed back to when I was a child and a lot of emotion coming up. So this piece talking about my mom and me, it's never ending story. But now I couldn't see her a long time, this pandemic. So I really miss her. So if I start this piece right now, maybe color gonna be totally changed, more pink, green, white, those kind of color coming up, I think.
Wow. So the work will be forever attached to the loom?
Yes, it's still making, that's why on the loom.
Well, that's wonderful because it's just like your relationship with your mother will be ongoing and continuous
Yes.
forever.
Thank you for saying that.
Did your mother like make any artwork, or did she have any hobbies that were creative?
No, she just painted when she was young, but she doesn't do those kind of things. And this one is same tapestry too, so that's why I want to show you. The right side on the bottom, you see the this one, this part, harness on the wall. See, so that means it still keep going, and you can recognize how big it is because I put the two torso there, so maybe we can guess. Yeah,
I've seen that you had an exhibition at the Tenri Cultural Center, which is a wonderful place. Have you ever shown your work back home in Japan?
Just one time in the beginning, 8 or 7 years ago, but I couldn't have a chance, the solo exhibition. So I hope someday I want to go back to Japan to exhibit.
That would be wonderful. And also just a reminder to our viewers, in the chat is a link to Nobuko's website where you can go and see many more images and also see a lot of detail images as well.
Please. Oh, this is another experimental things. And I want to make wide one because loom has a limit, right?
Sure.
Just 60 cents like that. So I want to make wide pieces. So I try to use the two looms together. And I could do it. I made it. That means if I use 3 loom, 4 loom, it's gonna be bigger and bigger. But I don't want to do it again because it's taking a long time.
Yeah.
So also you can see I lose the tension. I don't make tight, just to lose the tension. That's the key point for making it wider and connecting together. So
where did you come with the title Arizona? Did you travel there?
Okay, I'm gonna explain for it. This is Arizona dress to get two, and almost same time I'm gonna make it. And when I visit Arizona, I was so fascinated by the power of the red rocks. So I decided I'm gonna dye the material with it. And I bring some to New York. I graze this in a small pigment 3 days. And then I dyed the material like that. So red strong color turned into the very, very, very pretty cherry blossom pink, I think. The color is very light. And to express the grandeur of nature, I wove without tension as much as I can. I showed it before. And the texture of work represent the life force, the burst stratum and dry air of the Arizona. I want to express like that.
Well, it's so wonderful. And again, it ties the work very closely to nature. And I wanted to ask, did you see the Annie Albers retrospective when it was traveling around. So Annie Albers was a great textile-based artist, amongst many other things, and Joseph Albers'
No,
wife, even though she was
I didn't
she,
have chance for that.
she was much better as an artist. But the show was, her work was just so rigid and mathematical, and very tied to the traditional Western methodology of the loom, where it's almost like a computer putting
Oh, yeah.
a system out. But I love that Saori is the exact opposite of that, that it's about freedom and not adhering to a very rule-based way of making things. And I think work like this shows that, in such a beautiful, organic way.
Even if Saori Weaver, I think there is some person focus on making the pattern. I have the chance communicate with the like, I don't want to say disability, but like autism kids and Down syndrome kids. They're gonna try to make art pieces. Those kids are totally different weaving, and if somebody has an autism thing, it's gonna be more mathematics things, very calculated. I don't know why, but they're gonna make patterns so beautiful. And Down syndrome kids or person, even if adult, they're gonna try to express, how can I say, like explore and more freestyle. So, like me, honestly, I follow them. When I find their art pieces at the SAORI studio before, I was so shocked. I can't reach them. They focus themselves a moment, so they don't hesitate to make something. And like outsider art, they don't think anything how people feel with this piece, right? Just to think about inside. So at that time, I gave up. I don't compete with anyone. No way. That's my goal. I just reach myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so fantastic. And, I always find the term outsider art to be, problematic for that very reason, because it automatically puts somebody into a different category. But Saori and many other art forms are, available to anyone, and that artists can just dive in and make things without having to be somehow held to the rules of society.
SAORI art is not categorized all of us together. So, not outsider. And we mix it.
Yeah. So it's very democratic.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's great.
And let's see. And one jellyfish tapestry on Takemi, performing artist Takemi again. Please take a look how waxy it is.
It's so wonderful to see it in motion. Because it really does give the vibe of a jellyfish floating in the sea. And the wonderful thing, and I want to ask you, obviously a jellyfish, even though it's a beautiful organism, is also dangerous and can sting you. Did you think about that?
No, I didn't think about it.
Well, any really good art not only is beautiful and allows you to think deeply, but oftentimes can be very dangerous as well.
Now, I think I need to skip some pictures because I just show you.
Yeah, let's go through a few. We have about 10 minutes left.
Yeah, because this picture and next one, I want to show you how to prepare my staff. I usually go back to Japan for doing that because I don't have space here in New York. So especially for dyeing, we need a lot of sunshine and water and, the nature circumstance. So I go back to Japan and do it. And this picture is Amami Island. They are very famous place for indigo and mud dye, so I try to do it. This is my sink. I saw the color of dyeing change greatly depend on the local air and sunlight. So Amami indigo is deep navy blue because of they have the high humidity and rich soil. Soil is so rich. That's why they can make deep navy blue, I think. So I want to try to continue to research each place with my hand, how waxy it is. I want to make sure what's going on there. And this is that one I made it in Amami Island, kimono fabric. And for the installation, I don't want to cut the piece. So I just wrap around the performing artist Hazuki like this. She can't move. She couldn't move. It looks like a mommy, but I like it, this photo.
I have to ask, knowing that, you know, historically, Japan has not always been the greatest place for women because it's very difficult to break through the ceiling because of a very, you know, male-dominated society in a lot of ways. Luckily, things are changing for the better. But are you making a statement about that a little bit?
No, for the what does it mean? Like
the idea that the woman's body is tied up.
This she couldn't move. No, I didn't think anything like that at the time. Yes, honestly, maybe I can use this photo for the kind of art. Exactly. I'm gonna try.
You can become a feminist icon in Japan.
Yeah, I do. Okay. That's good idea, Eric.
Yeah.
And this is a mask. From 2015, I tried to use the low silk and just low silk from the cocoon. And I studied about it. I visited Mr. Akihiko Izukura in Kyoto. He is great artist there. And every summer, I go his place and I study how to take care of the low silk and how to make low silk paper from him. And this is my first piece of the trial of low silk product.
Well, if that's the first piece, then the future is bright.
And this is the almost first piece and costume. The mask is here, and this is for the bugaku, Japanese very traditional court dance music. And so this head is the demon, and his tops with the low silk paper, and his Japanese style bottoms is I made with linen fabric with indigo.
Amazing. Was there an actual performance?
Yes, we do.
Wow, amazing.
Thank you. And almost the time. And from last year, I didn't have chance to exhibit any place because the almost exhibition canceled or virtual. So I started collaboration with performer Takemi and also Yuki Neo photographer. So this is the most recent piece, latest work for me. And it represents each of us, 3 women. That's why the title is Portrait of Us. And final slide, I want to introduce our collaboration. Yes. Let's see. Anyway, let's start. Yep. This is the Purge. The title is Purge. And the promotional video for the exhibition at Teleported Korea 2021, CICA Museum in Korea. And we started collaborating from last summer. And this is the, I used the low silk paper again for the costume. And I made a sculpture, hand sculpture with low silk together. And
Wow.
the title is Purge, right? So silk is the life the silkworm created with their body. And the
Yes.
process of spinning silk thread is reflected in the way we purge ourselves. The hands on the costume represent a confession, guilty, anger, and prayer, and they try to grab somebody's hand, help, hope, and love. Let's do it again.
That's really phenomenal because, of course, the silkworm purges the silk out of its body. And yet we as humans take that material to often make incredibly beautiful things from it. So again, you get this cycle of life and death and beauty and waste and so many deep concepts. How strong is the material? Is it incredibly strong or is it very delicate?
Very delicate. That's why I use the kakishibu dyeing for this. Kakishibu makes the material getting hard and strong and water resistant. So I usually use the kakishibu for the sculpture, for the mask and those kind of things.
So that like protects it.
Yes, because I hang the kakishibu, low silk with kakishibu almost 1 year, 2 year in the garden in Japan. So it's going to be very hard.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about collaborating with any Buto companies?
I want. If I have a chance, I want to try to do it.
Ah, that would be great. Buto is a avant-garde form of Japanese dance.
Yes.
And one of the most famous groups is Sankai-juku.
Sankai-juku, yeah.
But that would be really great.
Great, I think so. And also silk is an antioxidant effect, also self-purification and absorb toxins. So for this project, I really want to use the silk for it.
I think that would be wonderful. Okay. So thank you for sharing your work. And let's ask Brandy if there are any questions that have come in the Q&A. And we're also able to bring people on live. And if any Japanese viewers would prefer to ask Nobuko a question in Japanese, please, dozo.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. What inspiring work. This is really incredible and wonderful conversation you both are having. We have a couple of questions. So from Erica, how does it get so large from the small loom? And Erica, I guess feel free also if you wanted to continue with that question. So I guess you showed some of the slides that indicated when you have two looms together, it looked like, or you wanted to expand the width beyond the looms or one loom's dimensions to be able to combine that. So would you like to kind of tell us a little bit more detail about how to make something a large scale versus?
There is one way we're gonna use two loom, right? And another way, I made a tapestry and maybe I'm gonna stop half of it and I'm gonna make another tapestry and then I connect it with them. I'm gonna weave together later. This is another way. Also, one more way, I made a tapestry, that's a rectangle, right? But I want to make triangle shape or jellyfish shape. So I'm gonna pull out some part of warping and leave it. And I finished this side. I took out the finishing part. I'm gonna how can I say, reset of another warping, and I'm gonna continue to do that. So a lot of things you can do with SAORI loom, because SAORI is very easy loom. Everybody can use it, kids can use it. So that means you can try your way, you can create your way. So that's why I'm doing a lot of things, you know, with my idea. It's fun.
Absolutely. So we have another question. Akio says, this is wonderful. Could you tell me what synthetic materials are you using? I think this was in reference to the last slide or video just due to the time and when you asked. But of course, Akio, if you want to also come in and ask questions. So what synthetic materials are you using? Because we're talking a lot about working with silk. Do you use synthetic materials also, especially for the last piece that you showed?
Yes. I dyed the material by myself with silk. Yeah, silk too. And mud dye and kakishibu and indigo I usually use.
Okay. Any synthetic, so not non-natural materials?
Not natural one. I usually use just as like it. I don't touch. I don't dye it because I'm gonna use the natural dye things like indigo, kakishibu. It works for the more natural things. So
So when you use plastic or metal, you just use it as is.
Just use it. But the gold one, you see the big piece and requiem. The gold thread is the embroidery thread for obi and kimono. That's why they keep the shape well. That has more texture. Yeah, it's interesting. So you can research what kind of the thread works well. You can try as you like.
That's great. And we have a question. How do you make paper from raw silk?
Raw silk, actually raw silk, it looks like a cotton candy, right? So if you want to make a color, you dye first, and then you're gonna spread out on the board, and I coat it with agar. Maybe you can use, if you don't have agar, maybe you can use the paste with like a glue, natural glue with rice or something, gluten. You can use it.
Interesting. It's fascinating. Amy has a question. Do you make many supplemental warps for layering? And I want to thank you for sharing your moving visual poetry. Are there videos of your work we can access? Thank you so much. So I believe on your website, do you have videos for people to look at more detail?
No yet. I'm not digital person, so I need to update my website. I know that. I'm sorry about it. I'm gonna do it as soon as possible.
Or maybe
I'm really sorry about it. I need somebody's help.
Yeah, there you go. If anyone can help, that would be great. What about maybe your Instagram? Do you have more artwork on your Instagram?
So, Instagram, I just put some pictures, photos there.
So yes, that was Amy's other question is, do you make many supplemental warps for layering? So multiple warps, and then you create the artwork together. So I guess the answer is yes, in a sense. Okay. All right. So does anyone else have any questions for Nobuko?
There was just a question as to whether Nobuko uses a reed on the loom.
Open top reed, you mean?
Yes. Yeah. Do you do some of your weaving without a reed on the loom?
Reed without the top. So we can switch the position of the warping. If you go to SAORI website, maybe you can find it.
Interesting. Great. And we've also
but it takes a long time to do it. So please be patient.
That's true. Patience is key for sure. Does anyone else have any other questions? You can feel free to turn on your video, and kind of chime in, or if you want to type in the chat or the Q&A, that's fine as well.
I just have one last question for Nobuko. Obviously, all of us for the past year have been leading very private lives with our families in our homes and not going out very much. I wanted to see if this has been an incredibly productive year for you. Were you working throughout the past year, or did you take a break?
I want to say take a break, but honestly, I don't have a chance to do that because I don't have own studio. So I can't do anything here, small apartment with my family and dog. So I just gave up. So that's my, 1 year.
Mm.
And maybe next year, 2 years later, let's pray together with exhibition. I hope.
Yes.
I want to see you again, Eric-san.
そうですね。
Hmm.
Another question, Olga says, do you throw away much of your work?
What does it mean?
So do you throw away, Olga, I'm not sure if you mean as you're working, maybe materials or the whole work. Feel free to kind of elaborate with your question, but she's asking if you throw away much of your work. Rejection.
Oh, rejection.
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 So if you make something and don't like it, do you throw it away or
I
do
don't-
you refabricate?
I don't have the piece. I don't like it.
Oh, that's great.
That's the SAORI style. I accept it. Also, I can reuse. Sometimes I'm gonna reuse for another thing, like a long tapestry. From that, I'm gonna make dress, like a Arizona dress, like that. So remodel, I do it if I need it. Somebody want a costume, I'm gonna do it from tapestry to dress for dancer. Yeah, but I never throw it away.
Great.
But all of them my child.
So it is 7 o'clock and we wanted to thank everyone that went by so quickly, and there's just so much information that you're covering that was so incredible for both of you, and want to thank you again sincerely for both of your presence and for sharing your work, Nobu, and Eric, for you being here. It's just really, really wonderful. And for anyone that is interested to know more about SAORI Arts NYC, our programming and volunteering, or interested in donating, Jane has put it in the chat of our website, www.saoriartsnyc.org, as well as Nobuko's website, and also Eric's website for Pioneer Works. You can also follow our Instagram for SAORI Arts at saoriarts.nyc. Yeah, our next talk, this is our first artist talk, so our next one will be with Shiaki O'Brien in conversation with Nitsa Danieli. So please stay tuned on our website and our Instagrams for you to sign up for that as well. And thank you, Nobu.
Thank you.
Eric.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.